session. At the beginning, they will call the roll, they'll have a prayer, they'll have a pledge of allegiance, there's a little bit of business that goes on. So I'll take just a couple of minutes and talk to you about the legislative process overall. Then I understand that arrangements have been made to let about 20 of you onto the floor to sit in the House.
Yeah, if I can give a real quick overview of the rest of the day before you get going. So the session, they will be gaveling down any minute, and they've said 9:15 or so is fine to come in. You can go in anytime you want. But everybody who's here, we do have room for you on the floor. Speaker Ferrandino reserved some seats for all of our group and everybody who RSVP'd. So you can go in on this level, past where we're having breakfast to the right, and find some seats on the right there, the benches. And then you can go to the Senate if you want to. You can stay in the House. You can go back and forth as much as you want. In the Senate, you'll be up in the gallery. And they'll probably be meeting all morning. And there are some committee meetings in the afternoon. And Lou has volunteered to give a tour for anybody who'd like a tour. If you want to meet him at 11:30 at Senator Aguilar's office, which is the first door past the elevators as you go back this way. What's that? 5 seconds. This floor, just past the elevators, the first floor door on your left. So at 11:30, Lou will lead tours for anybody who'd like to. And if anybody would like to gather for lunch, would anybody like to do that? Maybe meet at Panera Bread and just informally have lunch over there around 12 or so after the tour, or after you've had enough of the House or Senate. You can gather over lunch and you can come back for committee meetings and maybe more debate on the floor in the Senate, of the House and the Senate if you want. But that's really, we're sort of independent after we leave here, but there's room for you on the floor and room in Lou's tour.
That's my question. I've never been here. Where is the Senate and where is the House?
The House is just past where we had breakfast. Basically, you enter from about the middle, on the west, on the right side there, at the center of the building. You can't miss the entrance. And the Senate, well, you want to go up a floor to get in the gallery, and it's on the opposite side of the building from us. So the south side, just go up one floor, and then the opposite end of the building.
Who's having the most spirited discussion?
You know, it sounded like the House floor was going to be interesting with the education bill, and I'm not sure what exactly the environmental bill was that Representative McCann was talking about, but the education bill is going to be spirited, I would think, and I'm sure the environmental bill is still going because it's spirited. I'm not exactly sure what's happening on the Senate floor today, but I think both sides will be interesting.
But they'll both be spirited.
Yeah.
Right. So,
it's also possible. Senate business tends to finish up earlier than House business sometimes.
Yeah.
So if you stay on the House for a long time, the senators may have gone off to do their various things. So the House is probably more interesting, but the Senate is probably briefer.
And let me, real quick, just introduce the House District officers who are here. I'm the captain for 2B. Barry is the chair of the House District and the finance chair for 2B. And who else have we got here? 2A. And we've got Rita, who's the co-captain of 2A. We've got Elliot, who's the co-captain of 2B. And I think that's it for officers, and a lot of great actors. So anyway, back to Lou, who is the captain at large for public policy.
Okay, well, over 600 bills have been introduced. As of yesterday, there were still about 200 in the system, so you can see why there's such a great rush now to get finished up. Just by way of brief overview, every legislator can introduce 5 bills, and in actuality, they end up introducing usually more, or they get special dispensation to do that. By now, all the bills, I believe, have been introduced, and every bill, once it's introduced, has to have a public hearing by law. Any member of the public can come to the public hearing and testify, provided the time allows. As Senator Aguilar discussed with her resolution, it has to pass the committee to advance. So a majority vote of the committee. The committees consist of odd numbers, and whatever party has the majority has one or more members than does the minority party. So usually the majority party can control legislation in the committee if it is of a partisan nature. And, but that doesn't always happen, as Senator Aguilar just illustrated. Once it passes the committee, then it goes to the floor for debate, and that's what's happening today. On Fridays, especially toward the end of the session, it's mostly floor debate in the respective houses. So a bill has to be debated. It's introduced formally. That's called first reading. Second reading is when the real debate takes place, and amendments can be made at that point. There's a voice vote taken. Unless there's a request for a recorded vote, it's just a voice vote at that point, and whoever is chairing the committee of the whole at that point can decide whether the yeas or nays have it, and that doesn't necessarily bear a relationship to the actual volume of votes in favor. But then the bill has to go to a third reading, and on the third reading there has to be a recorded vote. So no matter what the chair decided previously, the actual number of people supporting the measure will determine its success. Once it passes, if it does not pass that house, then that's the end of it. If it does pass in that house, it has to go to the other house where the whole process is repeated over again, public hearing. If it passes out of committee, it goes to that house for debate, second hearing, and then third hearing. And then if it passes both houses, then it still has to get past the governor. The governor has to sign the legislation, and if the governor vetoes it while the legislature is still in session and comes back, both houses have to pass by supermajority, 2/3, to override the governor's veto. So right now we're rushing toward the end, and that's why they're in debate late at nights, as Representative McCann indicated last night, and they may go pretty late today and into the evening. There was some talk about at least the Senate being in session tomorrow. We don't know. But they have to adjourn by midnight on May 8th, a week from Wednesday. So that's where we are, and that's an overview of the process. Yeah, those of you who can stay or come back for a tour at 11:30, be happy to answer more questions and show you where all these things are happening. But for this morning, at least, we'll show you where the house is and let you go in there if you like. And I'll show those of you who would prefer to go to the Senate how to get up to the Senate. Any quick questions, Barry?
Just the protocol if guests on the floor.
If you're guests on the floor, you go into the floor, you sit on the side, do not leave the side, and do not make a lot of racket.
It's not like the British.
We should add to that. The guys in the green jackets on the House side and the kind of reddish, the carpet-colored jackets on the Senate side, those are the sergeants. And I have bathroom codes, and so do they. So if you need anything, do what they tell you to do. They're watching for procedure. They're your friends, but do what they tell you to do, and they can help out. Anything you need.
Are water bottles okay?
The bathrooms have keys. The code.
Water bottles for guests, probably.
Let us know if you
I know that legislators and staff can use water bottles. Yes, they'll probably let you use one.
Yes,
Does
read
it
it.
look like we're heading for a special session because of
I haven't,
64?
because of what?
64.
I haven't heard that. I don't know.
I've heard
Aaron or Owen, you know, I haven't heard that. But if they don't finish, then that's a distinct possibility.
And May 9th is the last day?
May 8th.
May 8th, Wednesday.
Is it the governor?
The governor calls a special session.
So last May 8th, I think it was May 8th last year. I don't know. But it
I
was
think it was.
an eventful, it's my birthday, so I remember it. But it was an eventful close to the session with the civil union's stalemate going on for 3 hours on the House
Yeah,
floor.
It's a very dramatic ending. This has been a dramatic session, very emotional because of all the high profile and emotional issues and divisive issues that we had. Yeah, last May 8th, we had the traditional ball drop, which one of the senators would go to the top and drop a ball all the way down to the bottom. That senator is no longer in the legislature, so I don't know what we're going to do. this time. Okay, that's all I have. If they presumably will be finished with the ceremonial stuff, we'll see. But it doesn't matter. We just file in through the side, and we'll take you around there.